Hey everybody, welcome to Let's Create Wellness. Yay! So my name is Anna Chen. I am your spiritual operator, and so we're gonna do a little bit of quick introduction on what exactly is Let's Create Wellness is all about. What is a spiritual entrepreneur? What is a spiritual operator? What do I do as a spiritual operator? And all that good stuff. Um, Having to say that, I let's start with a little bit of background story, shall we? So I started my spiritual journey when I was young, much younger, and as I was going through that journey, like I know that my ultimate purpose and mission on this planet is I want to help people. And then, you hear it from all the other spiritual people a lot. It's like, I want to help people. But then, like, okay, like being a garbage pickup person is helping people. Being a plumber helps people. Being a doctor helps people. What exactly do you do to help people, right? That was the ultimate $1 million question. And I really have no answer to that because at that time, I didn't really feel any passion or calling. I don't even see the phone booth. I hear the calling, right? So I had, I realized I wanted to help people at a very young age. At least by the time I got to high school, I know that that's what I want to do. And I was really trying to find out what service do I want to provide. And and I went through I went through a bit of the regular bullying. I don't blend in really well with my classmates typically because I I don't like the way they do things, and then you kind of single yourself out by not joining the group, and because you're not in the group, you become a target, and chicken and egg and chicken. And so down the road, fast forward, something happened in my life, and that sort of swung me into really realizing that, oh my god, like I need to find something that I'm really passionate about, or else my life is going to continuously suck. And I am just going to turn out I'm just gonna start hating my life because at that time I'm already having a bit of starting to showing symptoms of depression. Actually, I was diagnosed with seasonal depression. Apparently, it's very common in Canada. Well, you guess why. And but then it was more than that. Like, for example, I was hanging out with the wrong group, and there was a time period in 2005, that my dad, my uncle, my dad, my grandpa, and we all kind of found out that we were all having some sort of they had cancer, and then I had a node on my thyroid, right? And then so it all happens like within really fast, within like, well, I'm sure the disease took up time. The diagnosis took place really fast, one after the other, right? And so I was thrown into a situation where I'm like, okay, I might die. I might, or I might not. I don't know that at that time, right? Life is so short. Oh my god! Like my uncle, my grandpa just passed away like so fast, and you know, what do I do? Like I was having such a unhappy time at school. And I remember crying to my friend saying, like, I so okay, backtrack a little bit. So I read two books in Chinese, in Mandarin, that were talking about how the 33 things you need to do before turning 35. And also, what was the other book? The other book is called as the Stanford Silver Bullet. And basically, this is written in Chinese, in Mandarin. And essentially, the author went to Stanford, and then he was talking about how he ended up successfully applying to Stanford and what Stanford had taught him, yada yada yada. And so at that time, one phrase that stood out to me, and I heard it many times, is a famous Japanese proverb. It says, if you have the courage to jump out of the Kiyomizu stage, uh God will grant you your wish, right? And if for anybody who has no idea which stage it is, Kiyomizu stage is the stage of this temple, and they used to perform um, a, a traditional Japanese dancing and rituals for deities on that temple stage. The temple stage is about 4 to 5 story above the ground, and yes, all the way up to, I think it was part of the 1900s, that the Japanese government actually need to write it into the law that forbid people to jump off the stage because I think the survival rate was like about 75%. It was quite high, but still, like, stop doing crazy stuff, right? So I know that proverb, and I was like, so what I for me, how I understood it at that time was I need to be able to have that courage to risk everything in life. So to in order to find success, right? That was what the proverb is saying. If you have the determination and the courage to jump off, the God is going to grant you your wish. So then I thought to myself in my downtime, and I was like, what was that one thing? What was that one thing that would bring me to that edge of standing there knowing that I have to risk it to get somewhere. And at that time I was in business program. I love business. I love business in general. I love knowing how to earn money and everything. But at that time I was like, you know what? I really want to be on stage. I didn't know how. Okay, I have no idea how. But this is what I said to my friend. I said, I don't care if I have to dance on stage, be a stagehand, build scenes, sets, or if I'm a part of the choir or a part of the orchestra. I really don't care. I just want to be on stage. I don't know what I'm going to do on stage, but I want to be on stage. And in that moment, I believe I found my calling. I want to be on stage. And so I went full throttle into studying me. My friend tried to stop me. She's like, it's one thing to want to be in the music faculty, as classical music faculty is one thing. Loving music, classical music is the other thing. They're not the same. So she tried to help me like transition to see if I really want to become a classical musician, and I totally love it. Like I don't like piano. Okay, I shouldn't say I don't like piano. I don't like practicing piano. I think I still like playing it. However, my specialty is actually in classical singing. So I'm a classical singer, and then I love music so much that later on I become a conductor. So I'm actually a conductor. I'm a choral conductor, and that's what I do these days. And so while doing all that, I think at the end of my master, it just feels like a click, or it's just like an inner knowing that I think I'm ready to walk the spiritual path. And when I finally, so in Chinese we have a practice called affirm. So you dedicate a big wish. So like a big wish is like a wish for the better good of the collective. And when you make a big wish, you sort of dedicate it to the universe, the deity, or whatever, to affirm yourself, to dedicate, to show that you mean it, and to show that you're determined to walk this path, right? And so that's what I did. Like one night, and when I felt ready, and I literally said, look, like, I'm ready. I don't know how I'm gonna start. I don't know where and who and what money. I don't know, but I think I'm ready. And you know how in English phrases we say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? And what I can safely say is that when you declare that you're ready, you affirm your big wish, the universe start lining up to start like clear up all the obstacles for you so that you can start your journey. So at that time, my relationship, like the friendship that was, they're really mediocre, or on some level, they're quite harmful. So my relationship and my friendship sort of start deteriorating and start falling off. And that sort of led me back to where my family resides in Vancouver, BC. And so that's sort of the beginning of the path of becoming a spiritual entrepreneur. And when I say spiritual entrepreneur, it has a lot to do with, you can say that it is somewhat of a heart center entrepreneurial journey. You could also say it's faith based. However, when a lot of the time when we say faith based, it is being linked to religious based, right? So I mean, I know that we can get very into like specific of wording. However, it doesn't change the fact that when you attend a faith-based conference down, particularly in the United States, you're going to meet a lot of Christians, and some of the Christians are not so open-minded about other religion or other spiritual practice, faith-based practice, right? And it's just what it is. It's fine. I mean, there are Christians who are very open minded. Like I'm baptized Christian, right? So, I'm very open minded. I cannot speak to all. I cannot speak for all of the Christian based community. Having to say that, I met lots of wonderful people. I have mentors who are very open minded in that space. So, hey, you never know. So having to say that, you can sort of interchangeably use all those labels: spiritual entrepreneur, faith-based entrepreneur, heart-centered entrepreneur. So we were just a bunch of entrepreneur who wants to serve other people. It's a service-based path that we're on for the greater good. And so a lot of so I have a mentor. He has multiple 6 7 figure business, and he literally said to me, Anna, like nobody's gonna come out and say that they're spiritual. Come on. Like he said to me, he said he somewhat turned spiritual because of his wife, his partner at that time. And yet he wouldn't feel comfortable when he hang out with the big boys, call himself spiritual entrepreneur. And I was kind of like, that's very true. But part of me goes like, well, maybe you're not my avatar. Part of me goes that way. Hey, I'm still inspecting, so let me know what you think. So now we talk about a little bit of a spiritual entrepreneur. So I want to talk about my role as a spiritual operator. The reason that I use the word operator is because you know how, like, back in the days when telephone invented, there's always an operator, right? And then there's the prompt board. One person answer the call and say, and then hear that, oh, this is so and so they are trying to connect with, and then you connect them to the so and so, right? So there's the operator. And so I'm a spiritual operator. Originally, I thought, should I call myself a soul operator? But not necessarily. I typically don't connect with past loved ones or other people's ancestors. That's not what I do. I typically deal with like messages from your spiritual team, like especially different deities, angels, archangels, your starseed family, that kind of a thing. So my typical one of my job is to facilitate the understanding. So matching people, I call myself a matchmaker. I'm a spiritual matchmaker. So I match you with with a deity or with a spirit guide or with a whatever the religion that you want to practice, or whatever spirituality you want to practice. So I match you with with a spirit team or spirit or a deity that vibe the best with you. Okay, I think that's the right words to say. So, for example, how do I say it? So my cousin does it with me together, and I would observe the person in front of me, and then we try to. So for me, it's like I try to go through the list of deities or archangels, angels that I know. It could be spirit guides, it could be saints, right? So I go through them, and then usually I try to narrow down the list first by going like, is it a Western or Eastern religion, or globe wise, where like how would people know this deity, Western, Eastern, and then start narrowing down, and then finally then I get a name, right? And then I'll say, this is your deity, or this is sort of the, you should look into like Christianity to find your archangels, because yada yada. So one of the story was, so I was telling people that this is part of what I do. uh in my meetup, I have a friend, he's an engineer. He said to me, Anna, I wonder who's my, like, if I want to like deepen my spiritual practice, who should I practice with? And then I look at him, I said, he's from Hong Kong, but he's been long enough in Canada. And um I said to him, I was like, I don't think it's an Eastern deity, like an Asian Eastern deity, that you need to practice with. Very honestly, I think you should look into Christianity. You should look into angels and archangels. And he just looked at me. He said, "Why? Like, what makes you say so?" I said, "You just there's like this vibe. For me, it is the vibration." And I said, "You just have this vibe that's just like not Asian Chinese kind of deity vibe." And then he smiled. And then he said to me, he revealed to me, he said, "Oh, I'm just very surprised you said that, because in my family we have three pastor." And I was like, "Then why did you ask me? You should just." Anyways, you could have just assumed that's the path, because family ties and everything. You need to start there. But anyways, he wants confirmation. I gave him confirmation. Um, so that was that. Definitely I have. So typically the deity or the stream of faith or practice that I connect people with are the practice that probably will vibe with them, whether it is their core belief or whether it's from their ancestry, their soul's ancestry, and past life, yada yada. Typically that's how I would recommend it. And then I would say that most people find it really fit with what they're looking for. So such a confirmation. The other things that I do, is to so one is do the matchmaking part. The other part is to initiate people. So typically, when I have a lot of people would come to me saying that I have no idea why certain things are happening to me, and so they kind of simultaneously will kind of be my coaching clients, but at the same time they are the people who will come to me. the uh, the problem that they're trying to solve sometimes may not necessarily a problem that's related to childhood trauma. Sometimes it is the trauma from past life, so that falls into spiritual coaching. So that's what I do. I sort of help people figure out what that is, and then that kind of becomes their first step of their spiritual journey. And so sometimes I call myself a spiritual coach, and then my title just grew longer and longer and longer. So I just settle with business dharma coach. So I teach people how to find their way, the way to be around business and in their life. So that's part of my role. And then the other thing is, in my chart, in my human design, and also in my astrology chart, I have a lot of transformational energy within my 11th house and 12th house. And so I don't really have to try very hard. When people come into my atmosphere, or when I'm in other people's organizations, they typically will go through some sort of a major change in my time being there. So whether it is their so what have I done before to those poor companies before? Anything from uh, restructuring to bring down sort of companies who are doing illegal stuff, like getting sued, or I have accidentally help people switch out their executive director and then also like help resolve partner like the different partners of partners of the company were having some communication issues. They were having a lot of difference in the company, and then help them to resolve that. So that's also, just me being there and then me witnessing some of the things that I raised the concern, and so that's in a way that people can accept it, and somehow this facilitates major changes within the company. So sometimes I feel like, oh my god, I want to stop like stop forcing changing on other people. So for a long while, I was like, just gonna stay at home. I don't want to like go out of work because like I cannot explain to other people why there's every time all the companies that I've worked with gone through major changes. I was just like, did you do that? Maybe. Um, anyways, but I definitely do love consulting, and then I definitely love coaching. So that later on it becomes one of my the thing I do a lot. I also do my passion is also teenager, typically teenager in teenager education. So your high school all the way to university, just because these are the people who are really, experiencing transformation. They are ready for transformation, and then so I work with them a lot. I within my choir group, and um, that is also part of the way where I help coach them and help see their growth, that kind of a thing. So that's what I do as a spiritual operator, and a lot of the times messages come through to me, not necessarily as in like I'm like meditating, channeling, and a message came. It's not like that. For me, it's a lot of it's like a comet. It just dropped in, and I'm like, okay, and what am I supposed to do with it? Who is this message just for? And then sometimes it's very I think because I enjoyed it as an INFJ, I like trying to make connection of the information that I receive. So a lot of the message when they came to me, when they a lot of the message in the past when they came to me were, I don't really know what the connections were, and then I would try to like find out, and I really enjoying about the finding out process. And I think my spirit team definitely knows that, so that's why like I get all these random messages sometimes. um of course, and then I have to share a story, right? I can't just leave you hanging there and not really understand how that works. So this is a more recent one. I think it happened this year. Yeah, I think so. I think it happened this year. So I receive a connection request message through Meetup. So I have my own Meetup group, and then I receive a request to connect, and it's to business network to see how we can help out each other. And so I, gladly hop on, and we schedule a time. We met right. I think it was a day or two before the meeting. So I do yoga. I do hot yoga practice, and then so during my hot yoga practice, I got a visitation from a deity. And because this is not the deity I normally work with, so I'm kind of like, okay, I can either tell it's Shiva or Krishna. I cannot, they are similar in vibration, but then I know that in the traditional Indian mythology, they're different deity, right? So, but then I have a hard time telling them apart. Anyways, so I said, okay, it's either Shiva or Krishna. I cannot really tell who is who. And and there wasn't really a message or anything. It was just it comes in as a vision. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So I finished with meditation. I went on about my day, my life. And then when the meeting had took place, so the girl and I were having a Zoom meeting like this, and we were just having conversations. And it was like a really awkward meeting at first, because I can feel like we all have a little sort of it's feeling energetically, it feels like as if we both have a plastic shield in front of us. Like during COVID's time, you cannot talk to person and you have to talk through a plastic covering at the counter. And that's how it feels like. I was like, oh, okay. So we're being like a little held back. And then as the conversation goes, she switched she switched from her dining table to her sofa, her living room area. And immediately when she shifted, I caught part of her energetic signature. And and then I said to her, okay, I think I know what this meeting is about. So we start talking, like, all of a sudden in that change, we start connecting like soul to soul. And it's a weird feeling that I'm trying to describe here. So just following along. Anyways, as the conversation went on for another 2-3 minutes, I can sense that there's this line here that goes towards the screen. So it's kind of like a line here, but it's like really subtle. But then it's kind of like you can feel like this little person is like trying to wave at you to get your attention, but then it's an energy connection. It's like towards the screen, and I was just like, huh? and then and then I can, like, sometimes I can ignore it if it's not important, but then, like, because it kept waving down at me, and I was just like, okay, fine, this is something. And then I can tell it's the Shiva or Krishna that I saw 2 days ago, and I was like, okay. And then because of that connection, I was kind of like, I'm supposed to say something, but I don't know why I'm supposed to say it. But I've worked in this field long enough, and I know that I need to state it to the person. For whatever reason, I need to state it to the person. So I said to her, I just want to ask, like, do you practice a certain religion? Okay, first of all, background story. She is an Indian. Like, she's from India, right? She's an Indian. Um, but that doesn't mean that she practices the religion, the Indian religion, okay? Like, that's not necessarily the case. If you don't know, there's also Islamic people in India. There's also Christian people in India. So you can't just assume that. So I just said, do you practice this specific religion? And she's also an entrepreneur in Vancouver. And she said, no, she doesn't practice a religion. And I said, oh, that was very interesting. And I said to her, because um there there's this connection, not directly to her, because it's like a weaker connection, so I know it's not to her, but to her immediate family, or like someone really important in her life, but not her, has a strong connection to Krishna or Shiva. And I cannot tell, because I was being very honest with her, as I get confused with both of them a lot. And then I said, I'm having a I'm having a stronger feeling it might be Krishna, but I'm not 100% sure. It's either Krishna or Shiva. But he just want me to let you know that um that he has a very strong connection with one of your family members or someone close to you. And I don't know why this is important. So I was being very honest and being very vulnerable, being very open. And I have no idea, like, how is she gonna respond back, right? And then she smiled. Like, I see this most beautiful smile that came out of her face during that meeting. And then she smiled, she said, believe it or not. She said, when my brother uh when my brother my she said her brother was born in Canada. So when her brother was born, she gets sued. They're I think they're 8 years apart or something like that. She says she's old enough to name him, and so her parents let her name her brother. And because she loved the name Krishna, so much, she decided to name her brother Christian. And in that moment, that level of getting a confirmation at the same time, the knowing that there is a deity or spirit guide that is looking after you, looking after the person you love. The profound emotional wave that came to me, it was just unbelievable. And I was just like, I'm still teary eyed right now. Like every time when I think about that moment when she said it. And and then we just sat in that moment of realizing that, oh my God, this is like, there's no way I would know. Like this is the first time that we met. I don't even know who she is, and yet this is the message that happened to the both of us, right? That knowing, receiving that, it's a settling feeling. It's a all of a sudden you feel very grounded. You're being loved. You're being taken care of. There's something miraculous about the universe that happened. And I think that's part of my mission, is to bring that feeling to people as much as I can, because it is such a profound feeling of knowing, like as Christians we say it a lot, like Lord's love you, God loves you, the universe love you, your higher self love you unconditionally. Yet that feeling, um I think everyone would love confirmation of that love in our life. And every time when we receive it as a confirmation that our higher self, our spirit team, the deity that we work with, the Lord, the universe, Mother Mary, whoever it is, when we receive that love, it is so profound. That's incomparable to anything that you've experienced thus far. There's like a completely safety and trust that happens there, and I'm just like very teary eyed. So one of you guys who's watching this is getting teary eyed, and it is beyond description of words. That's all I can say. Like, um, do you want another story? Maybe we have time for another story. Okay, so if you're watching this, we're just gonna tell another story. If not, thank you for watching. Well, I'll see you in the next video. So story number two. Um, so I had a client who wanted a reading, and so I said to him, sometimes when I do readings, I invite the other person's spirit guides to come forth, and in this particular moment I want to invite universe mama. So I like to call the universe my universe mama. It's kind of like the pachu mama, which is the earth mama. And I said I want to invite universe mama to come forward and to bring forth whatever message that she wants to give to you. Um and so we started the reading, and And then when I was doing the reading, all of a sudden I paused, and then I just looked at him and I said, "Do you happen to practice Catholic?" Because then he told me that he believed that there's God. But then, like, just because you said that you believe that there's a God doesn't mean it could be a Hindu God, it could be a Chinese God, it could be just about any God under the sun, right? Like, I don't know. I don't assume. Um, But that's what I asked him. I said, were you a Catholic?" And he said, "Yeah." "Why? Why did you ask?" I said, "Because when I dialed the phone out to Universe Mama, the person who ended up getting the call was Mother Mary. And it was a very different signature. Like, to me, when I call out Universe Mama has a very Universe Mama vibration to me. Like, I can feel like I'm calling to the core of the universe, even though I don't know physically where that is. But I feel like I'm calling to the core of the universe. However, when it's like I feel like my call got rerouted, and then whoever picked up the phone was Mother Mary. And then it was also very interesting because I was just like, I love Mother Mary. Um, and then so when Mother Mary picked up the call, I was like, oh. Oh, it was so lovely. And that's why I said to him, I said, you know, I think part I think that you were very loved by Mother Mary. That's what I said to him. I said, "You're very loved by Mother Mary, like, because when I called to Universe Mama, she ended up picking up the call." And so, even though he's no longer practicing Catholic, because of several things, and so I said to him, like, even though you're not a practicing Catholic, um, just so you know that she still loves you, right? Just so you know, she still loves you and she's here for you. And I was just like the love that I received, through because Mother Mary answered the call. It was so profound that, and immediately I knew he's a practicing Catholic. Like he was a practicing Catholic, and he was not, and then because he did tell me before he no longer practiced whatever religion. He didn't tell me which religion. He just said, I don't practice that my previous religion anymore. And so part of me just feels like, oh my God, like God, all the deities will love you regardless whether you still practice the religion or not. It's they will never tell you like you have to you have to be a Christian in order to be loved by me, right? Like the Lord never says that. The Lord always it's just that, you know, the people who practice, it's not like I love certain type of people, right? It's the people who are practicing his teaching. That is the person that he'll love, or she, or whatever deity you believe in. So having to say that, a lot of the spiritual path, being a spiritual entrepreneur, has everything to do with choosing the path that you want to walk, and choosing the preaching, the method, the spiritual belief that the deity, the practice, the religion that you want to work with, and then how to implement that in your everyday life, and then how do you create that part of a spiritual life, not just in your regular day life, but also in your business. That's ultimately what I want to teach people how to do. And so it's a rather, I wouldn't say very, I think it's a rather customized work, because I believe that we all have our unique combination of vibration, and that's what makes us unique. And um, so that's what I do. My coaching program will teach general knowledge, and then my one-on-one will teach people how to find their own path. So that's what I do. Cool. So thank you, thank you, thank you for watching till this very end and hear this how I, like how this wonderful experience of being a spiritual operator um has been, this being in this role in my life, and how grateful I am about all these experience. And hopefully I will be able to have that connection with you, to be able to find out your spiritual connections, and share that heartfelt feeling with you in person or online. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this video. I will see you next time. Bye.